everyone, welcome back to another video, and in this video I'm going to focus a little bit more on cloud native testing, and I'm going to introduce a new open source tool to you all which is going to make life a little bit easier. And on this channel I try to highlight various tools, open source projects, and since these are open source projects you all can contribute as well. So in the end I'll also share how you can get involved in this project. We did actually do a Twitter space with the project maintainers, and you can find the recording to that in the Twitter space playlist. But after listening to that Twitter space, I saw a lot of folks who got involved and started contributing, making PR. So always makes me happy when folks contribute to open source, and especially students. So that's pretty cool. So we're going to talk about Testkube in this one by KubeShop, and it's a Kubernetes native testing framework. But before that, before we dive into it and what it's all about, and obviously a demo, let's talk a little bit more about what are the challenges. So when we talk about Kubernetes, we talk about the challenges that are faced when it comes to integration testing, and when it comes to testing in CI/CD, or when we talk about GitOps and things like that. So when you're talking about GitOps, like you're managing all the like your cluster states with the help of Git, you would think about how does testing tie in with this, okay? And when you talk about like your GitOps CI/CD pipeline, how does testing fit into this culture? And the second question you may have is that there are so many libraries and frameworks for testing, right? There's Cypress Test, and then there's Jest, and then there's like Postman, SOAP UI, so on and so forth, integration, unit testing, and things like that. And then you may think like, I mean, obviously it makes sense because what do you call it, like so many tools for different use cases, right? So that's another thing you have to think about. One more thing is when it comes to testing, you have to think about like tracking the metrics, so observability, monitoring, and like measuring your tests, and the monitoring part of it as well. And oftentimes when you're working with Kubernetes, you may need some of the cluster access to run your performance tests, and you may not have this access. When you talk about, let's say, RBAC, role-based access control, let's say it's offering least privileges. So you may be like, okay, I don't have access to this. It's not like people don't trust you. It's a good practice to have the least privileges. So you have to think about these access restrictions and all these other things as well. So Testkube helps us in solving all of these challenges. It's a Kubernetes native testing framework. Let's talk a little bit more about it. So Testkube basically allows you to use any of the CI/CD tools, and you can this way avoid the vendor locking, and you can stick to your personal favorite projects, right? So instead in the CI/CD, your tests are going to be running in the Kubernetes cluster itself. So now you don't need to worry about the permissions part because your tests are running in your clusters itself, right? Which is the last point that I was just mentioning, right? About the restrictions. So the Testkube server is going to be living inside your cluster, so you don't have to worry about any network access or whatever. And there's also, like, when we talk about the GitOps part, so Testkube integrates seamlessly in your GitOps pipeline and like the CI/CD workflow as well. And when you talk about so many test tools are available over there, Kunal, how do we work with that? So there's a Testkube basically provides a standardized method, and using that you can easily run and monitor no matter what particular language you're working with. And obviously for example, you can run Postman tests without knowing much about Postman, okay? And it's built on a modular architecture, so there's like it's very straightforward to add any features or support. So for example, you may be like, okay, Kunal, if you check out the documentation, you see that over here it says that if you have the types of tests, so test types, okay, so you can see Cypress, Postman, SOAP UI, K6, Maven, Gradle. So here there's an option to create new test types. So it's not like providing a vendor locking as such. You can add in your own new test types as well. For example, Jest, you'll have to create like a Node.js container sort of a thing, and you can work with it. But there's an availability for that as well when you talk about the diversification of the test tools. And since it's like a native testing framework, so it will deliver a common result that you can analyze and work with when it comes to monitoring. So it's in a way it's solving a lot of challenges that folks face. So you can learn more about it in the documentation, obviously. So decouple testing from CI/CD for improved test execution pipeline. So you can see workflow without Testkube, workflow with Testkube. So as you can see over here it's saying that you don't have to create any like complex configurations to run your tests inside the pipeline. Instead, you are doing it inside your cluster itself. Okay, so this is decreasing the complexity of your CI/CD pipeline. Okay, because Testkube is now managing your testing activities. All right. In addition to that, you can see there's a centralized test orchestration and reporting. So as you can see in the dashboard, we'll be looking that as well. We'll be checking out the dashboard as well. And this is something that we already discussed. Okay, avoid vendor locking and all these things I've already covered, like what I was just telling you all about. It's open source, and you can find the testimonials here. It's also in the CNCF landscape. It's an open source project. You can contribute to it. I'd highly recommend joining the Discord channel as well and checking them out on GitHub, giving them a star. And if you want to check out the issues, if you want to contribute to it, I'd highly recommend it. And these are the issues that you can work on. Cool. So that's basically about it. Let's look into it a little bit more. Okay, so about it, as you can see, if you basically don't have that much of a technical knowledge when it comes to Kubernetes, so Testkube frameworks basically make it easy for us, as a tester or a developer to run integration tests pretty easily. And we also talked about like decoupling the activities performed at the CI/CD pipelines. So we talked about that. It also helps in managing the results more consistently, and it provides better insights and analytics. We'll be looking at the dashboard as well. It's very user friendly and it's easy to get started with, and it's, I believe, MIT licensed and open sourced. So we talked about it. And you don't need like any complex configurations to run your tests. And Testkube is basically going to fetch the test files from the project repositories like we'll be seeing in this session, and it will execute it as you like. So that's pretty cool. And that way the complexity for the CI/CD pipeline is reduced because now things are working in the K8s cluster. Okay, and it will basically provide you the entire infrastructure, and it will take care of your testing workloads from inside the Kubernetes cluster only. So I think that's pretty cool. Is it for you though? Like, should I use it? That's a good question. So if you're doing integration testing for your applications, in the Kubernetes, Testkube is the right tool for you. You can definitely check it out. And if your testing activities are very tightly coupled to your CI/CD pipelines, in order to make it less complex, for that you can use Testkube. And in general, if you want consistency and reduced complexity, Testkube is for you. And if you find a way around the if you want to find a way around the fourth point I think that I mentioned about the networking part of Kubernetes, the permissions, the network permissions part, the restrictions part to access the test environments, for that also you can use Testkube. Cool. So now it's the demo time. We're gonna see how we can install it, and we're gonna do a demo, and we're gonna see how it works in action. So let's get started. Okay, so if I click on the installation part of the documentation, pretty simple. Installing on macOS, you can do brew install Testkube. I can just do that, or you can do it in a Kubernetes cluster as well using kubectl. So here you can see that you can install it, install Testkube components inside your cluster. So it says that Helm must be installed to use charts, and you can run this command kubectl testkube install. Okay, so it's going to install the following things for you. Gonna do that as well. Let's see. Well, it's saying welcome to Testkube. All these are things. Obviously, Helm needs to be installed for that, and obviously, I'll see what all things it installs. In using the command basically. Cool. So here you can see that we have it over here, and it has installed. You can check out all the things that it has installed. So there you go. Some things are already, like the containers are creating, it's in progress, but you can see it in the documentation over here as well. It installs the following components in our Kubernetes cluster. Be that like if you're running a local cluster or using cloud provider, it's gonna work with it accordingly, depending on where your kubeconfig file is pointed. So here you can see that Testkube API, it does that. The namespace it has created for us, no problem. CRD for tests, test suites, and executors. So we'll see more about that over here when we talk about it. MongoDB, Minio by default, and you can disable it as well. The dashboard, we'll be using the dashboard in this particular session itself. JStack certificate manager for Testkube namespace. Okay, so if it's it will not be installed, it says, if it's already installed in your Kubernetes cluster, and we can see over here that it's basically running in the Testkube namespace. You can also install it manually using Helm charts, but that's pretty much about it. Now, about the test, the information is given over here about creating and adding and whatever, but you can check out the documentation over here for, creating particular test types. For example, Postman, Cypress, SOAP UI, K6, and all these other things. So we're going to use this, information. Let's see we do with the K6. So you'll have to basically in like the demo we'll see right now, you'll have to first create a test and then you'll have to run that test. So Testkube will do that inside your K8 cluster. And it's pretty like that's the reason it's pretty straightforward to get started with, right? Without setting up the CI/CD pipeline, it will just check the file and it will run the test for you. So you can check out the test suites as well. So basically we'll be checking the dashboard. I'll show you the dashboard as well. Test suite is basically going to be like a collection of tests. As you can see, you may have various teams in your organization. So various departments may have like a different set of tests, like front end and back end. And what I'm going to do is, let's say we take a K6 example. So I click on K6. I copy this example file, okay, in the test.js. You can check out like adding test variables and running and all these other things. No worries. I'm going to say touch. I'm going to say vim input exit. And after that, I'm just going to say that, it's saying that the Testkube and the K6 executor accepts a test file as an input. So it will create a test for us. So I'm going to say, okay, create a test for me, but the file name is K6. And I'm going to give it a name like a test number 3, for example. So it will create a test saying that, test created like this. Okay, the name. Now I can run this. Test 3. It's going to run this test now. So it's saying that it's running, and execution number 1, start time and time. It's going to take some, take a while, not that long. And then I'll show you the output in the dashboard as well. So there you go. Text execution completed with success in 16 seconds or something. And you can check the execution until complete over here, like watch test execution. Here we go. It says that it's already finished. So if you want to check it out while it's running, that's good. And here you can also check out the execution details. Okay. Test execution completed with success. Now this does not look very neat. I mean, I like CLI. So as you can see, it says that local test content and all these other things basically mentioned over here. Okay, scenarios and everything. But I'm going to do the dashboard, like run with the dashboard. kubectl testkube dashboard. So here we have our dashboard. Here we have our test number 3. It says that it's passed. You can click on it and you can check out the output. Okay, so this is sort of like the UI for Testkube. You can check out the log output, CLI commands, variables. So here you can see you can add K6 arguments in your tests as well. Okay, additional arguments using the args flag. So for example, you can run the test and you can run the args flag and you can ask that, okay, no connection reuse or whatever, you can add it over here. Okay, that's simply about it. So you can create test suites as well. You can filter it, label it accordingly, right? And you can do the same with the status. I'm going to see all the past tests, for example. Okay, so these are the past tests. I can see that over here, the variable names and definitions and CLI. See, the definition is also available over here. Cool. So you want to write it in a code format. It's available for you over here. CLI arguments for K6 and everything is available over here. Okay, there's a run button as well, and you can add a test directly over here if you don't want to do that. So you can do it, and you can add the source as git as well. Okay, so as you can see that you can also create a test based on the git repository. Okay, so you just have to add the --git URI, and then you add the git repository, and it's going to take the tests accordingly. Okay, add the branch and everything and try. Cool. And apart from that, for the same thing for the test suites and the settings, obviously, you can work with it and you can check out the documentation. and these are the basically pretty cool stuff. Okay, so that's basically about it. And similarly, you can check out about how to do it with Postman, Cypress, Soap UI, and Kuplug, Maven, Gradle if you're working with Java, for example. It's pretty handy. So you get some information around it over here, and that's basically about it. See, cool. Okay. So that's basically about it. And in this video, we covered, a little bit of a demo, and now it depends on the individual use cases. In the next video, if you want to learn more about like a little bit more challenging stuff, I'll do another video on a use case with Argo CD, to Testkube with Argo CD in your that's going to be like pretty cool. So I'll do that one as a next part. So this is more like an introductory video. I want to focus more on like whom is it for, what are the challenges it's solving, get started pretty easily, a demo. And in the next video, if you want to, if you have any specific use cases you want me to cover, make sure let me know in the comment section below. But I'll cover one with Argo CD and Testkube as well in the next one. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, do check it out. Check out the links in the description below. So it's in the CNC of Landscape open source project. You can contribute to it. You can join the Discord channel, as you can see over here. The GitHub is mentioned over here. So check it out and see what you can work with. Definitely one area of contribution can be for you that you add new test types over here, for example, right? So you can create new test types. The information for that is given over here, how you can create new text types. So you just have to make a custom executor. Okay, so we created a test and we then run those tests, and now the output can be seen over here and all the CLI. So we did a little bit of like everything, and it's now enough for you to get started with it. So yeah, for more resources, make sure you check out the links in the description, subscribe for more content, and I'll do the Argo CD one soon. And thanks a lot for watching. Really appreciate you all giving the time, and share about it on socials if you want. Take a screenshot and write a blog on it, because we are running the blogging challenges, right? So you go to the com/hashnode. If you can write something in the category for DevOps, then we have some amazing prizes. For this month, it's 10,000 INR. We gave away a Mac Mini, M1 chip, mouse, and all these other things. So you can write your, what you learned, and you can win some exciting prizes as well. So win for everyone. And thanks for watching, everyone. See you in the next one. Have a great day.